Hey everybody, I'm Tori Townley. Welcome to the Served Brew. I hope you have your coffee ready. Today is going to be super cool. I've got a new friend, Mr. Donnell Mann at the Texas Dream Center. Hey Donnell, how are you?
Hello.
Awesome. We're so
Happy
excited to
New
have you. He is the Dream Center director for the Texas Dream Center at Elevate People Church. I guess y'all call it Elevate People now, right?
Yes, yes, we
I
do.
was like, I saw it. I was like, I think that's recent. But so super cool church. We love Pastor Brandon Barber. They planted, I think, what about 8 years ago, Donnell? Is that right?
Actually, 6 years ago and a week or
Okay.
a week and a half. So yeah.
That's awesome. So cool. So yeah, I like we at ARC, we love this church. Definitely during Hurricane Harvey, they were a big key player in helping rebuild their city, just loving people. I was blown away by just the heart for the city. They were just out there doing the dirty work, partnering with other churches, just leading the way, and so many others. And then I know just talking with Pastor Brandon from day one when they planted their church, it was always just about serving and loving people. A lot of times it takes church plants a little bit to get on their feet and then outreach comes. But for them, it was definitely something that was a big part of from day one. And so that's just always been something that blew me away about these guys. And they have a dream center now, which is so cool. And if you follow them on social media, you know, like this dream center, they're just doing so much in their community. So reached out to Mr. Donnell and really found out how incredible his personal story is. So he's going to share some of that with us today, share about outreach and all they're doing. So we're really excited. So Mr. Donnell, if you would just introduce yourself. Like I know that the story that you shared with us is amazing. So we want to hear that, but just let us get to know you a little bit.
All right. Well, hi, man. I'm Donnell, man. By God's grace, in crazy way he does things, I'm the director of the Texas Dream Center. Before I get to that, just a little bit about myself, man. I've lived on the wrong side of Jesus, 37 years of my life. It's been like mad crazy. I moved to Texas because it was an abusive home and my mom wanted to get us here. And because she worked, I kind of got involved in gangs and drugs, and I found my purpose in that. And so I began making mistakes, and I was in and out of prison. And so in 2011, I got into some real trouble, and they offered me 3 life sentences in prison. And it was eye-opening to say the least. But I sat in a jail cell and I told God, I said, hey, I know this is the coward way out. I said, but don't let me wake up. I said, let me go to sleep and just not wake up. Everybody would be better. Well, you know how God has a sense of humor. So not only did I wake up, but I ended up getting bonded out of jail. But then, then I ended up homeless for a short period of time because my family didn't trust me. So I didn't have a place to stay. But, you know, God brought somebody into my life, and he told me, hey, I want to talk to you. Kind of at the same time, my mom was like, hey, you can hang out at the house, but you can't leave by yourself. I don't trust you. Now I'm 37 years old, and this is what's going on. But I went and had that conversation as much as I didn't want to. And the guy told me, he said, listen, don't think I'm strange or weird. He goes, but God said you need me in your life right now. And I didn't know nothing about no Jesus. So it wasn't like there was like even some little bit of seed to be watered or anything. I didn't know nothing. And he kind of told me his testimony, and he left it at that. And that stirred a hunger in me. And he said, hey, why don't you read Galatians 5? And so I'm reading Galatians 5, and it kind of made sense. It's like, hey, there's some freedom you can have, not just physical freedom, but like a freedom that comes with Jesus. But with that, you can't hang around with old people, because old relationships was my issue. And I'm able to understand this. Like, just one chapter in the Bible spoke volumes to me, because then it goes on to tell you all the things you get, or all the things I was having in my life, which was dissension and division and anger and frustration and all that. And then it said, hey, there's some things that if you want them, like love and joy and peace and patience and kindness, that you can have. And so that like literally jumped out at me, and it created a hunger in me. And so I started reading. I ended up giving my life. It wasn't like a come to Jesus moment. It was on my mom's floor. I was in tears by myself, but I knew something had to change. So in all that, I still struggled with addiction. I still struggled with sexual immorality. There's some things I struggled with. And I still was going to court for these cases. And I got plugged into a church, which was actually an art church called Thrive. It's in Fulshire. And my friend was actually the youth pastor there. And so I was going there, and in the midst of going back and forth to court, I get rearrested. They revoked my bond. Nothing I did personally, but they revoked my bond. And they were like, hey, if you sign today, we'll let you have these life sentences. If not, we're going to try to put you away forever. And, you know, some people, oddly enough, I go to this jail cell and I'm like, God, I don't understand. I believe in you. You couldn't have told me I was going to prison. I have faith in you. But I still was struggling with addiction. I was still drinking. I was still doing some things. So the words I was saying wasn't matching like how I was allowing God to move in my life. And so I know now he separated me as a wake-up call. And so in that cell, I said, God, I surrender. It is what it is. If I have to go to prison, I have to go to prison. I'm good. Well, my best friend, who is my wife now, shows up and says, yeah, that's whole nother story. She shows up and says, hey, I want to help you get out. And there's some other people that want to help you get out. And we've put together some money. And it's better one day more with you in the free is better than not at all. Because I was like, I'm going to prison, so it doesn't matter. And so she just rallied this money, and she sacrificed and did some things, man. And then my brother and my mom showed up and helped me get a new lawyer. So he got a bond reduction. I get home. And it's crazy because I'm only home. That was September, first week of September. I get home, and I go to church, and there's this crazy guy on stage, right? And his wife, and they're like, we're planting a church, and he's wearing Jordans and jeans and a shirt. And I'm like, who is this dude? And it was Pastor B and Pastor Kristen. And so they were like, hey, if you want to come help us, we would love for you to come help us be on our launch team. And so Tom was like, hey, go help them guys. So I went and helped with the parking and was in service and worshiping, and I loved it. And I ran up to Pastor B afterwards, and I was like, listen, I love it, but I'll be back in 5 years. And so he was like, huh? And I kind of explained to him that I made some mistakes, and I knew I was going to prison, but I loved it, and I felt drawn there. And the next week I was actually sentenced to 18 years in prison. So this is 2012. So I go to prison, and the whole time, so my best friend, who's my wife now, she ends up getting plugged into Elevate. And so they end up, Pastor Brandon's like, hey, anything he needs, anything we can help with. So he started sending me leadership books, and he sent me like our values. Well, it was their values at the time, but he started telling me about love God and love people and strive for excellence and choose joy, even in my current situation, which was prison. And so he was pouring into me the entire time. And so as I grew, through some miracles, I ended up in an amazing Christian academy while I was in prison, which is like a seminary on steroids. So through that, the amazing thing is I went back to Elevate People on the 5-year anniversary. So yeah. Yes. So it was a crazy, that's like the basic story in a nutshell. I mean, it was insane. And we realized later that evening that it was 5 years that I said, that I would be back. And he actually married me and my best friend, things of that nature. But here's the kicker. In 2013, I was in a cell and I was questioning God. I said, man, there's no way I'm designed to be in prison. You can't tell me, God, that I'm about to spend the next 18 years of my life in this jail cell. I need to know my purpose. I said, I mean, God, for real, you have to answer me, really. And they have this thing in prison called mail call. And that's when they deliver your mail. It's like it's the happiest time in prison. You know what I'm saying? When you get some mail. But I was actually at work and I come back and there's a magazine laying on my bed. And on the front of it is a picture of this big kind of beat up hospital, and it's huge. And Pastor Barnett's on the front. He's young, right? And it's like the California Dream Center. And so I start reading this article about the California Dream Center and talking about, how he walked Skid Row and how he just wanted to affect change. And he started with like 60 people to 16 people, and it was just buying groceries. And then all of a sudden God had moved and they were just affecting the city, like right where the city was at. And my heart raced. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm Texas Dream Center. It's going down. Well, I was like Houston Dream Center. I'm in my cell. Like, I got it. It's going down, man. And so I literally didn't say anything to anybody. And I called Pastor B a time later, right? And in this time, I said, hey, man, have you heard of the California Dream Center? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, man, I want to do one in Houston. He was like, we already got one. It's us. And so I come to find out. And then like the next week, my friend, who was my wife, sent me some pictures. And it was pictures of them wearing Texas Dream Center shirts. And so I kind of knew then that it was aligned. It was kind of destined and things of that nature. And so I got out in 5 years. I started working, doing all these things, got married, hadn't brought up the Dream Center at all. Matter of fact, I visited a friend's church. The guy who led me to Christ, actually, his name is Rodrigo Vargas, and he has a church our church in Houston also called Union. And so I went and visited them, and I was just like, so then I got plugged in to Elevate, like 5-year anniversary. I took the 252 leadership class and did everything. I went through even though I kind of went through Connect in prison, like with his writing and stuff. I wanted to go through the process here to get plugged in and to build. We never once talked about, I didn't even mark outreach on my gifting assessments, that what I wanted to do. I just told him, I'll serve wherever you want me to serve. I'm not tripping. If it's going out and serving in the community, if it's serving the church, whatever you want me to do, I'll serve, And so we did that, and about 9 months in, so I want to say May this year, right before National Serve Day, he calls me. He's in Alabama. He's at ARC, and he'll tell the story. He runs to the restroom and he calls me. He's like, "Hey, God put it on my heart. Don't take that job." And I literally was pulling into my job to put my 2 weeks notice in to take another full-time job. And he goes, "I'll explain it to you when I get back." And I'm thinking, "Hey, when are you gonna get back?" And so it was like a week, and I was like, So I was crazy for a week. Well, he comes back and he says, "Hey man, God put it on my heart that I want you to lead this Dream Center. I believe that you'll do great at it. You'll be amazing." And it was just like, I literally was in tears. And we went and I talked it over with my wife, and my wife was like, "Hey man, if this is what God wants us to do, then let's do it, man. Let's make it happen." And since then, it's been crazy because, hence my story, my life has been crazy. And so God just starts doing these amazing things. And so he tells me, "Oh, by the way, we have National Serve Day coming up." And Pastor B loves this city, and he loves us to do as much as we can. And so we know so many people were gathered, and we wanted to present such a good opportunity. So that was like crazy to start, but it let me know, like, whenever I started help organizing it and making phone calls and building relationships and stuff, that this is where God wanted me. It was like a piece. Even though it was crazy and it was hard and I cried and I prayed and all that good stuff, it still was like, I wasn't tired. I wasn't beat up. I was just like, all right, this is where I'm supposed to be, And so that kind of is how I ended up at the Dream Center.
Oh my gosh, I have so chills up and down my spine. I'm crying over here. I'm not even joking. This is the second time I've heard the story, and it's even better now. Amazing. And I just love, I feel like your story is it's your fuel, and it spills over into other people's lives. And I just think about how cool it is that you look at Pastor Matthew Barnett, who started the LA Dream Center, and his dream, he had no clue that his dream would one day reach you in a jail cell and start something like this dream center. Like, dreams feed dreams, and
Yeah.
stories, that blows my mind. And I just see your life, how it's just no joke, like empowering other people who are the people that you're reaching. That you're like a monument, you're like a lighthouse for them. Like, if he can do it, I can do it. It's so incredible. So, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I love that Pastor Brandon, I was probably like there with him when he called you. I was probably like around him because I saw him that week, had no clue what was going on. So
Yeah.
I love it. So with that, have you like, were you like, did you grow up in Houston, like the same area that you're serving? Are you kind of like back in that same community?
So I kind of, I'm from Ohio originally.
Whoa.
Actually, I, I moved here in like '86. So I'm old. I'm not going to tell you my age, but I'm old. But so you could say I grew up here because I was in elementary school. And so in my direct neighborhood, no. I do go, there's some ministries that I go and I help out there. But as a Dream Center, we focus on the actual inner city of Houston. I believe that if we start in the middle and work our way out, and Pastor Brandon had a vision from God that if we start in these wards, which Houston has 6 wards, we have 1 through 6, and they start like right at downtown and move their way out. And if we can affect those, if we can start, that's where the poverty level is the most at. That's where it's just hardest for people at. And so as much as I would love to say, oh man, I'm going to run back to A-Leaf and I'm going to help and I'm going to do that. That's like kind of, our church is in the middle of downtown. It's like if the Dream Center is based in the middle of downtown, it's like I would just jump all this need and all this hurt and all this hopelessness to go over here because I want to. I'll let you get there. I'm not tripping. I got plenty of time. But so we really focus on the wards. Right now we're focusing on 2nd Ward, 5th Ward, and 3rd Ward to affect the most change and help we can.
That's really cool. So the Dream Center, I think we talked about this a little bit, but since the church is in downtown Houston, the Dream Center really intersects with that. I think for a lot of churches, sometimes it can be like the church is in one area, but the Dream Center is across town. But for you guys, it's a really close proximity. So do you find that dynamic to be helpful as far as like getting church volunteers involved and kind of the exposure of here's ways to help meet needs? What is that dynamic? I don't know if you have anything to compare it to, but what does that dynamic look like, having that be so close together?
I think it actually helps. Like you said, we don't have anything to really compare it. We've been in inner city church the entire time, so it's not like we came from somewhere else, but it allows people to see what they're doing and that it makes a difference. So for example, National Serve Day, we went to Star of Hope, which is a homeless shelter and a treatment facility. And we just took a bunch of people from different churches, different men, and fellowshipped. We played games, we talked, we prayed with them. And then we fed everyone in the facility. So now before that, we had men coming to the church, but now men from the Star of Hope walk and come to church. So these guys that went in here serve it, get to see these guys. And we actually have like 5 of them that's actually on our serving team that usher and greet and do things. So if we would say we went all the way to A-Leaf, which where I grew up, which is 40 minutes on the other side of Houston, we wouldn't be able to see that daily growth. And I think it helps and it encourages people to say, man, I see the impact my serving does. We've just adopted an elementary school, which is like a quarter mile down the street, literally. And so when people drive to church, they can see the fire lane lines they painted. They can see the parking lot they painted. They can see the garden they helped. They can see the grass they cut. They can see the change and impact they're having when they serve and they volunteer. And then that way it says, man, it encourages them to say, hey, to their cousin, brother, or sister, you need to come hang out with us and see what we're doing. And I don't think I would have it any other way. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because we always say like the church or the man, the church can change the man can change the home can change the community can change the state. It's the same thing here. If the church is in the city, then it changes its neighborhood, then its neighborhood can branch to the city, it can go out. And so I believe that's the best thing. And again, inner city, the demographic, the hurt, the pain is there. So
I love that from the inside out. It's incredible. I'm a visual person too. Like I gotta see the fruit. I gotta see the people. Don't tell me here's the story, which it's fine if you're just telling the story. But when you're part of it, and you're in the middle of it. There's something. Oh my gosh, it's just beautiful. So okay, tell me a little bit more about like elevate the church aspect of it, and then how like working into that, the Dream Center and how it got started. But just like kind of how your outreach is structured. Is the Dream Center 100% all the outreach, or do you guys kind of have general? I'm guessing it's all whole. But just tell us some of those dynamics, some of the culture of the church and the DNA. And then also, I want to know more about some of the specific needs that you guys are tackling in the city, because there's so many. When you're in a place like Houston, there is countless needs, I'm sure. So I know you guys have some pinpointed spots that you're going after. So tell us about all of that.
All right. So Elevate is an amazing, it's an outreach-driven church. Like you said, it's been on Pastor Brandon's heart from Jump Street. So that is like, it's a pillar. It is what it is. It's what we do. And being an inner city church, we look a little bit different. And so a lot of what we do is outreach. We tell people, hey, you know what, invite somebody. Let's get out there and do something, his vision is that we're spending most of our time outside, right? And if we're taking the church to people, the people will eventually come and build community and things of that nature. His Elevate's vision is that we will be holding services, not just at church, but in the at-risk and high-risk communities every weekend. So Saturday we church in, say, Kelly Courts, which is a neighborhood in Fifth Ward, right? And then we come back. But so the Dream Center does, I'm over outreach for the Dream Center, but also for Elevate. And kind of how that works. We do have a couple different lanes that we're in as a church to make all this kind of work and to be most effective in the city. So one of our main lanes is, like I said, we've adopted an elementary school. With that, I use Elevate. It's kind of Elevate outreach. So I use the church to build relationships with these children and mentorship programs, beautification of the school. We help them with the gardening project that they have going on. At the same time, we're building relationships with the teachers, serving them and loving on them. And so Elevate's outreach for our, let's just say our weekly and our month-to-month is geared towards that school and the neighborhoods that those kids go to, right? So we're focused on building the community around us as a church. Now, that being said, we, after Serve Day, went right into a season of all calls. So every month, for the last 3 months, we put on larger events where we've included some of the other art churches and non-art churches and businesses in our cities. And those are the ones where we're fighting homeless, where we're going and we're feeding the homeless, and we're doing different things of that nature to kind of rally the local church together to impact the such, because we're a large city, man. It's crazy, right? And so the Dream Center kind of does that. The great thing is, because we are an inner city church, our church is hungry to serve the city. Like, I think the numbers or statistics say 10% of your church will do outreach. That is just a healthy number to say. So we're functioning right now probably at 35% of our church does outreach in each event, right? And so, yeah, that's like crazy. God has anointed it, and they're showing up and they're wanting to get involved, and they're wanting some things to happen. And so Pastor Brandon is very adamant, and he's very focused on saying, hey, come on, let's do this. How can we, Donnell, how can we be effective? Give me, I'm crunching like things I never thought I would do for the church and for the Dream Center is crunching numbers. So, because he's like, we need to be effective. We need to be, changing our community. We need to be very intentional about what we're doing and so we can have the best effect. It's hard. Like this past back to school thing we did, we partnered with a Baker Ripley that has a magnet school, and we provided over 700 backpacks filled with supplies. Let me say, however, there's a school still down the street that had 500 kids that didn't get supplies, right? And so some of like the needs we need are just more people rallying for school supplies and uniforms. Like I didn't even realize the need for uniforms. I don't know if it like missed me, but this school was like, man, I was just in the school. And they're like, man, I have to give you new uniforms because these kids don't have uniforms and they don't have school supplies and things of that nature. And it's crazy because the need is always there. The same school is, I'm looking into kind of learning from Life Church in Memphis and their Dream Center. They have a feeding program. They feed on Fridays. I'm learning because I just found out the school, every one of these kids is 100% on government meals. So that means the whole school is low income or below the poverty line. And they're unable right now to get food to send home on the weekends to make sure that these kids are eating. And so we're praying and we're believing God for a miracle that we'll be able to design a program similar to the one at Life Church so that on Fridays we can make sure they have meals for the weekend. Nothing fancy, but to make sure that those kids aren't going home hungry, and things of that nature. We've been praying and believing for a facility so that we can actually start some different programs and things on site. Rather, we're really mobile at the moment. And so we're praying for a facility, and we're actually praying for a truck right now so that we can go do church. I think we want to pray for a stage truck so we can go do church in these neighborhoods until we can find a way to get them there. And so we've just been praying and believing that through Elevate and through the Dream Center that these wards, this second ward and fifth ward and third ward, we can dramatically change and then let that spread out.
Wow, that is such a big scope of coverage. Amazing, amazing. I have a few things that you said that stuck out to me. Questions to follow up on. I love that you said the city's so big and where you guys are, like it sounded like it's almost not an option to not partner with other churches and organizations. It sounds like it's so vital. And I know through social media, I can see you guys doing that so well, just partnering up with Hope City and all the other ones. How has that been navigated? Like, how do you know when to partner and when to not and all that stuff? How does that kind of come together for you guys?
Okay. So one other function of the Dream Center that was really, really on my heart, and Pastor B loved it, and he's like, well, we can run with it and we can see, is the Dream Center being an outreach engine for multiple churches, right? Elevate is my home, right? But if we can gather local churches, if you take the stress of having to build a big team, like we don't need 900 Dream Centers all over the place, right? When we have one big Dream Center and we create smaller campuses, but I can come in and it's been kind of cool. So I just basically say, hey, I talked to Kaylin Pate. She's one of the outreach directors and she's over kids and that's my homie right there. But so me and her connected and I'm like, let me help you guys do these things. And I know that it's been on Pastor Jeremy's heart to always partner with the Dream Center and to help affect change in the city. And so she's like, yeah. So I basically design the events and things of that nature, tell them, kind of discuss with them what we need, what the vision is. And they kind of, help with the volunteers and they'll help with supplies. They'll help with things of that nature. And things are just different of that nature. So the next step I'm hoping with it is that, because all calls are hard. Like, it's like, those things are like, ah! So I believe I've been reading Serve Your City. And so I'm trying to shift gears and I want to empower small groups more and design groups. And so my thing is to tell them, hey, you know what? We don't have to do an all call. What is something that you want to do that's in your area? So they're on a kind of a, I don't want to say North Houston, but it's like a spring branch. It's outside of downtown, and say, hey, let me help you design some serve days in that area, in low income areas there, so it's most effective. And so that's kind of our next step in this. But it's real cool. Like they just kind of come alongside us and say, hey, whatever we can do. And I give them a list and we kind of make it happen.
Man, that's so cool. I love that it just kind of provides an opportunity too for other churches. And even like, I know Kaylin, she's probably my age, a little bit younger. And so it's cool to be like, hey, I have someone, not a mentor, but just a really good friend that I can go to and learn from. And it gets the ball down the field so much further when you work together. That's
Yeah.
collaborative economy that they talk about in Serve Your City. It's such a good, beautiful thing. I think that's how Jesus intended for it to work. Plus, y'all are called the Texas Dream Center, so you definitely cover more than Houston. Texas is the biggest state ever besides California, so
Yeah.
you have a big scope to cover. I love it. Okay, one other question that I had before we get to the next thing. You mentioned that you guys have 35% involvement, which is completely insane.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are like barely hitting the 10%, and that's good. That's awesome. But what do you think is some of the factors that has allowed you guys to be at such a great involvement rate?
I think Pastor B, he shares our heart. It's in our DNA. You know, we as soon as you come in and you connect, it's you hear that love God and it's that love people, right? And that is right there is where we're able to say, hey, this is how we love people, man. It's through the Texas Dream Center and it's through partnering with these places and doing these things and the fact that we've become so regular about it and things of that nature. You know, he makes sure that I'm available every Sunday before services and after services to talk to people that's interested in outreach and hear ideas and things like that. So we've kind of woven it into the culture. And so if it's already in your culture and it's already in your DNA, it's just natural for it to roll over into the people that come to the church. And it's kind of taking its flow, man. It's been like that literally. And it's God, you know, he says, I draw men unto me, man. And I believe that goes to, he draws all people to do his work, to be his hands and feet. And we happen to be those people, you know, and so I think that's it though. But Pastor B does great with saying, hey, let's do this, guys. So.
Yes, and I can testify to that. I haven't even visited the church yet, but I know that is definitely what he oozes. It just comes out of him. Every time you talk to him, it's all about hurting people. And then I guess it plays in the factor that you guys are right in the middle of the city and people are exposed to those needs all the time and they're having their own conversations and having you be so accessible and so literally, it's not like you're filling a need like this role of the Dream Center director is just something that you're doing in the meantime. It's like this is your call right now and you are anointed and you're on fire for it. So having the pastor and the guy who's leading it be 100%, this is all we do, this is everything, people get on you, it's contagious, you cannot not be on fire for that. So just honor to you guys for that. Like that heartbeat is the heart of Jesus, so you reflect him so well. So okay, you guys do school outreach and you do partnerships to serve the homeless population, which is obviously a big thing in the city, especially Houston. I've been there a few times and it's just insane. And then what are some other, I know you mentioned a few other things on our phone call that you guys kind of focus on as your sweet spot. So what are those? And then kind of how did you choose which lanes to focus on as far as in Serve Your City, they talk about, Pastor Dino talks about cracking the code of your community, figuring out where do we fit? What are we going to do? So how did you guys get to where you are on that stuff?
Okay. So yeah, so school. So first I was like, all right, we're going to do homeless and we're going to do this like after serve day, right? I was like, God, this is our lane. This is what it is, because we had such a great impact and everything went so good. And so I was like, okay. But then I started reading the book and there's a lot of people that do it, that do it. And so I just wasn't feeling the peace that I had with it. And then came a school that we partnered with for the back to school drive. And I was like, oh man, this school. So it had nothing to do with homeless, it's back to school. And I was like, God, just can you kind of tell me, reveal to me something? Because if I could do it all, I'm the type of person, if I'll run myself raggedy trying to do it all. And so we actually went, Pastor B took me to Little Rock. We went to New Life. And so we went to Arkansas, and I got to go visit their dream center and talk to Drew, who's kind of over their dream center. And it was funny. He was like, man, we were doing all this stuff. We were feeding homeless, and they like had a facility. They're like, we were showering homeless, and we were doing this. And he goes, and then we were trying to do this with kids and things. And he goes, I had to step back and I had to say, where can I measure my impact? Like, who are there people doing some things better than me? And am I doing some things that aren't being most effective? And so when I started, literally, God started working on my mind on those things. And so I was like, kids. Now, I'm a convicted felon. I mean, kids is like so far off the radar that it's crazy. But that's how God works, right? So I was like, it's on my heart, kids. And I told Pastor B, hey, I need to talk to you when we get back. We don't got to talk now, but I want to just reshape everything. And I didn't know how I was going to do this because I didn't have any of those kind of relationships. I did at one place, but I didn't feel the draw to make a partnership or connection with them, to push forward with serving them or anything. Literally, the week I got back, me, him, and Bethany, which is our kids pastor, all got an email from Bruce Elementary, which is a school that Elevate People helped a lot during Harvey. It's the school that we do our shopping mall for Christmas at once a year. And they had a new, what they call a wraparound specialist. And so she's for community involvement. And I was like, okay, hold up. Let's go have a meeting. I'm a kind of a let's talk person, right? And so we set up this meeting, and me and Bethany, our kids pastor, who happens to have an amazing heart for outreach. So she's kind of come alongside because she has the organizational and administrative skills that I don't possess. Well, we meet, right, with this lady. Here's the funniest thing. I'm always early to everything I do. So I'm sitting at a coffee shop drinking coffee. And I thought about, this lady don't know what I look like. So I texted her and said, hey, I'm wearing some glasses that are clear. She says, she looks over, and we were literally sitting next to each other. So I was like, hi. She was like, hi. And I went to shake her hand, and she's like, I'm a hugger. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then she was like, man, praise Jesus. I said, I said, man. So she was like, listen, we want to partner with y'all. And so literally in that moment, me and Bethany and her started casting vision about adopting that school. And if we could start with one school, and another school, and another school, and another school, and we build teams that help go into these schools. So, but we started casting vision and all this, and she was like, and while we're talking to her, she's on her phone messaging the lead team at the school, and so they're responding, and God kicked the door so wide open. The next week we met with the lead team, which is the principal, assistant principal, the counselors, the things of that school, and they're like, listen, we're all in. However you want to serve. So then before school started, they invited us to their open house. So we got to set up a table and tell families about the toy drive and that we would be around just to meet them where they're at. We don't want them to join anything, or they don't have to do anything, but these doors were opened at this school. So in the leadership meeting, I divulged my past. I said, hey, I've been to prison. There's some things. And they were like, look, we don't care who we have to talk to, or what we have to do, but you will have access to this school and these students to talk. And so since then we start our mentorship program. Starts off next week, where we are mentoring at-risk girls and boys, discussing bullying and self-esteem and life skills and interpersonal relationship skills and things of that nature. We've partnered with them to help beautify the school. We're cooking the teachers Thanksgiving lunch, but things just started to open, like literally the doors. God just kicked the doors wide open for this lane. And Pastor B, it was put on his heart to go do church for kids in these neighborhoods. And that's why we're praying for a truck. So then we'll be able to go into these neighborhoods on Saturday and have church, or even Friday evening and have church, and just love on them through the Dream Center and through Elevate. And then when they see us there, they see us in the hallways. So we're like, when I say we have access to a school, like literally, we have access to the school, and it's such an amazing relationship. They messaged me yesterday and they're like, look, we know this is last minute. Can you help us with some things? And we were like, hey, I was able to say, I was in a meeting and I was like, hey, B, I'm working on my day off, bro. I said, I'm just letting you know. And he was like, well, we'll figure another day off. But the relationship, God made that lane wide open. Like, it's like wide. And so I knew that that was a spot and so we get the kids, and through the mentorship program, we're allowed to communicate with the parents. So, and these are all at-risk kids. So they have some issue. So through these kids, we're getting access to families, right? And if we can get access to these families, then these families will have access to the community. And you see, we start to change one by one, patiently, just loving on people right where they're at. It starts with kids, and it opens the door when they see us there and they see that we're not going anywhere and we're not doing anything. And I think that's when we knew it was our sweet spot, because there are so many schools in that area and there are so many at-risk youth, and that Houston has a high population of people in county jail and in prison that come here. So if we can get them here, right, we're good. And, and so that's how we kind of found that spot, Star Hope, as we partner with regularly. I get to go in with a guy named Sean Rose. He kind of got me access to go in and speak and to bring the word to those guys. So, we're on a regular rotation there that we get to go in and speak and hang out and pray with them. And then they're like, where do you go to church? And we're like, Elevate. And they're like, we're there. We're like, it's a block away. And they're like, we're there. And so that's a relationship that we're like, hey, we're going to walk. We're going to walk out with you, because we know perfect people are allowed, and we're going to love you right where you're at. And so that's kind of been our lane for that. And in the middle of that, around the block, is our big homeless population under the bridge. So we couldn't be so close to that. I'm actually building a team that's going to go out there Sunday mornings and say, hey, we would just like to invite you to church this morning. We're working on maybe getting a van to transport them, but we at least want to go invite them and pray with them. We have a free gift that I designed, a backpack, and we put in soap and hygiene. And if they make it, and like we hand draw hope and love and dream on these bags, and we give them out when they come. And so it's something that we say, hey, you know what? Yeah, we want you to come in and we want you to encounter Jesus. But most of all, we want you to know that we know that there's some tangible needs, and we're not tripping. We're going to help with that too. That's what we're designed for. And so that's how that lane kind of developed. And then, Pastor Brandon grew up doing prison ministry. His dad has an amazing prison ministry called Mike Barber Prisons. And so we have recently, it's been put on my heart to kind of help rally volunteers and create a lane, because we have a lot, when they go into these prisons, these guys need a community to know they're not going to be judged. And we're growing, and they come here. I'm one of those guys. Right, I'm a testament to what can happen if you if you get plugged into the local church and you find community. And I tell them every time, God's not a respecter of persons. If He did it for me, He'd do it for you. Trust me. I'm like Paul saying, I was a chief sinner. You know what I'm saying? I was tripping. But so we're kind of developing that lane. So, but what comes with that is treatment. And with those two lanes, the homeless and that, is being a resource center to help these guys find treatment and to walk it out with. I just had an amazing success story. 45 days ago, I dropped a guy off at a sober living facility, and I told him he couldn't, I just, it is what it is. I said, don't come back to church right now. Don't worry about that. Let's worry about getting your mind right and getting you sober and working on that relationship with God. And 42 days later, he's back at church. He calls me and he's like, can I come? And he's out of the sober living facility, and he has his own apartment, and he's been sober, and he looks so much better. And it's a reminder that, we can restore that. And I know that he has kids that he doesn't talk to, but I know that God is working on him, and that He'll begin to restore those relationships. And he's going through our Connect class again so that he can get plugged in to serve and do some things, you know. And so those lanes are lanes we're working on because we are inner city. And a lot of times we miss those people. But the cool thing is usually the convicted felon and the guy who's addicted is usually the parent of the one who's the at-risk kid at school. So if we're working on both ends, finally we'll meet in the, I believe that we'll meet it, God will work through it. And in the middle, there's where true change is happening, right? Kids are learning, hey, I'm not bound by the mistakes my dad and my mom made, right? I can do something different. I can be better. I can be stronger. And at the same time, they're hearing their parents say the same thing. Hey, I'm not bound by the mistakes I made. I can do something. I can be stronger. I can be better. And if we can take that hopelessness and turn it to hope, then that is a seed that, man, listen, if it gets buried and it's rooted, it is going to take flight. And that's kind of like our lanes. And they just kind of like, God revealed them to me just, and again, he would reveal it to me, and then something would happen with Pastor B, and Pastor B would be like, it's on. And so we've kind of developed it, and it's working. You know, we're young. The Dream Center's been around for 5 years, but we haven't been like pushing. And I think this is the season. I think God was waiting for the right time and the right people to say, hey, all right, now it's going down. You know what I'm saying? Now we can do something in Houston, and it's a party. I love it. So that's kind of how we developed our lanes and stuff.
That's incredible. I could not have asked you to answer that better. Like, just to hear how it's like this orchestra. It just works together. Like, literally, I've never heard a better story of the code being cracked in your community, of this need and following favor. That's the phrase that kept repeating in my head just now. Is like, you guys just genuinely sought God's heart, and you had some conversations, and you followed the favor that he had, Pastor Brandon's dad and his legacy. And then all of this stuff, God just works it together when your heart is so pure and humble before him. And you guys have cracked the code, the rhythm of your city, working from the inside out. It's absolutely amazing. I love it. Love your story. Please write a book. I will read it. Whatever you need to do. So good. So good. Okay, so we have about 10 more minutes. So we are gearing up for Thanksgiving. Everybody's getting ready for holiday outreaches. Yippee. And you guys have a really cool idea that you are doing. And I wanted you to share that with the perspective of people who maybe are just looking for creative ideas. If someone's never even tried anything like this before, talk about what you guys are doing and maybe how it can be applied to anyone if they are starting from scratch.
Okay, so we actually are working on a couple possible lanes. So one for sure, because everybody does a big toy drive and gives kids toys to kids, and we do the shopping mall, and I believe y'all do the shopping mall. And so one thing we're doing is the last day of school before Thanksgiving, November 16th, is the teachers usually do like a potluck, or when they all bring these dishes and different things of that nature. So kind of what we're doing is we've hired a chef, and we're going to prepare their meal, right? But we're going to put like white tablecloths, and we're going to do like a fine dining meal as the teachers come in throughout their day, and have little goodie bags for them, right? And the thing is it's not really, like, I was talking to the chef, and he actually used to be a youth pastor. So it kind of was like how it just happened. But he's like, I can probably do this for $10 a person. And so it's a cost-effective way. And if you create the goodie bags, is a whole nother serve event. It's like getting a small group or small groups together to create these love bags with little notes and candies, nothing fancy, to give to the teachers, right? The cool thing about this idea is you can do it for not only teachers, but first responders. You can do it for any small group of people in your community that you want to serve, right? And I say that because everybody, and it is what it is, but everybody and their mama's going to feed the homeless. Everybody and their mama is going to feed these people who are looking out, because let's be honest, some of these teachers don't make a bunch of money, and they struggle, and they have issues. Same with first responders. Same with just a small group of people that's in your life. Even if you do it at a nursing home, right? You just adopt one, and you tell the staff, hey, you send ladies in, and they get the ladies all dressed up, and they get the men all dressed up, and you go in and you put tablecloths down and you feed them this small meal, right? And it doesn't have to be on Thanksgiving Day, but you allow them to be pampered and to be loved, because sometimes we forget about those that don't necessarily need our help, but it's not necessarily our help that we're giving. It's the love of Christ. Big difference, right? And sometimes that's what we have to pour out. Another one that we're seeing how this will work logistically is we want to do like a Hope Tuesday, right? And what that looks like is you have Black Friday, and I believe there's a church up north that may be doing it, or Pastor Brandon gave me the idea. So you have Black Friday, you have Cyber Monday. Well, you create Hope Tuesday. And what you do is you promote jackets, blankets, socks, whatever kind of materials that are needed in your community, whether it be for low-income children, whether it be for homeless, whatever the need is. But on this Hope Tuesday, you promote it, and then everybody goes on that Tuesday to your website and they shop, right? So I may go, I'm going to get socks and a jacket. Bam, 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 and it's one day. The church and the community has one day to get these deals and to serve and hope. And then what happens is, and then the person who hosts it, which would be, say, the Dream Center, I would go and I would purchase the items that were bought, right? And put together. You could sign up. You don't have to. Your service is going online and purchasing, but then create a team to create the packages, to go out and to deliver them with a card that just says, hey, stay warm. We love you. God bless you. Whichever you would like to have on your cards. But so that way, it kind of, people can serve without even leaving, right? You don't even have to leave your home. You can just sit at home and be like, I'm serving. And it's crazy because that's how it's designed, because a lot of people, it's not in their gifting to get out there and be hand and feet, and they feel convicted about it. And they feel hurt, and they're like, man, I should, maybe I shouldn't, right? But this gives them an opportunity to say, hey, man, you get to serve the homeless community, or you get to serve these children by providing blankets or things, and you never even had to leave. And it's so cool because anybody could be a part of it, And so, and then recently we're trying to figure out, man, we had this amazing couple recently come to church, and they're like, hey, they were telling me about, we have the big Texans-Dallas game this weekend. And they were like, hey, we're having a tailgating party. You can come, you and your wife can come to the house and eat and chill. And so we may go to build relationships, but they sent me a picture and they have a barbecue pit on a trailer. And so I was like, is that a pit on a trailer? And she was like, yes. And in the same breath, she was like, me and my husband are trying to maybe figure out a way we could go serve this holiday season. Maybe smoke turkeys or brisket and drop them off. In Houston, there's some legalities behind that. But so we're trying to figure out maybe a good, innovative way to maybe bless some people and do that, So that's kind of like where we're at. And of course, we're doing the amazing shopping mall at our Bruce Elementary for Christmas. And that is going to be so awesome. You already know. And then the last two, which are my personal favorites that we're doing, is that we're calling all our women to go into a women's prison on the 17th of November and to serve those women. And Mike Barber Ministries has it so that we'll get to go cell to cell into the cell blocks where the women live and sit with them and talk and pray, go to the kitchen or the chow hall and eat with them and just spend the day during this holiday season with these ladies. It's an amazing, amazing thing. And then the same thing for the men. There's a unit in Houston that has over 1,000 men in segregation. That means they've been set aside because they've been in trouble. Whatever they've done, right? The most broken, right? And November 17th, we're calling all men to go in there and to these 1,000 men and to go to these cell doors and to pray with these guys and talk to them and encourage them, because I've been in prison. And some of the most hopeless time is the holiday season, because that's when you remember, usually people have good times during that. And so as people are away from their kids and different things of that nature, and we're saying, hey, this holiday season, let's rally with Mike Barber Ministries and go in and say, hey, you know what? You're not alone. You are. And the great thing is when you go in and you meet these women or you meet these men, and if there's something you're like, it's on your heart to stay in contact and to encourage them, you're able to do that through Mike Barber Ministries. So you're able to plant a seed, and if God's put it on your heart, you're able to water a seed through a season too, right? And there's no like, and so we're challenging. We're like, it may seem that they're all over the map, but they're very intentional on what we do. It's all our lanes, just in a different kind of way, and so I'm excited. I'm excited for November and December. I'm excited to instill hope in a season that's probably, even though it's the most hopeful, everybody's happy, joyful, it's also the most, where there's the most hopelessness, right? And I'm so pumped about what we have planned and what's going to happen and what God's going to do. I probably won't sleep for 2 months, so I'll be out of there come January. I need to go on vacation, but I'm excited. It's going to be fun. And those are some of the things that we kind of have planned. We are things we do though also, because we're partnered with this school, we have access. So we get to be at their holiday pep rallies. We get to be through this season. We get to go. And so there'll be smaller serve days, as in like on the 23rd of October, they have a 2-hour pep rally, right? Well, what is a 2-hour pep rally? It's a 2-hour like free. And so we're going to go provide snacks, right? And we're going to just fellowship and talk and hang out with and listen to music. And they split the gym, right? That's one side. And the other side, we get to go dance, and they're going to turn the lights and have lasers, and we're going to go dance and hang out with the kids. And this is, all in this kind of season, going into this season, we want them to know we love you. We're here every day. We're going to rock with you. We're going to roll out. When you just want to eat snacks and chop up, we're going to eat snacks and chop up. But, if you need to talk to me, you know that you can find me here at this school. I'll be here, that you can pull me to the side and say, hey, Donnell, or hey, Bethany, or hey, Pastor Brandon, this is what's going on. And that's the key, man, especially during this season, is making sure they know, hey, you're not alone, that somebody's with you. So it's kind of what we're doing.
Dude, so blown away. Oh my gosh. I think how cool it is that your personal story, your perspective is able to speak into so much of what you guys do as the expression. Like, yeah, a lot of people don't think about how painful and lonely it can be for others on the holidays, whatever. But your perspective, it just keeps hitting me how anointed you are for this. And it's just beautiful. And I love, there's so many things that I would love to go back and like highlight that you've said. Y'all's ideas are incredible. I think it's so scalable. Anybody can go do a fine dining meal for someone and just make them feel loved. Thanksgiving and holidays really are just about personal touch and feeling surrounded. And like you said, it's about feeling love, not always just meeting needs. So that's beautiful. And then I also really love, you've said this a few times, I love how for your serve opportunities, you guys are really intentional to break it down for anyone to be part of. Like the Hope Tuesday thing, I cannot wait to hear how that goes and watch that story unfold. That sounds like such a cool idea. But I love that it's anybody can be part of it at whatever level. You want to assemble a goodie bag? Come on. You want to decorate the back with us? Come on. You want to just purchase something? You are making a difference and you're part of the story no matter what. And I love that you guys think through that. And it's smart. You're just providing as many opportunities as you can. So it's genius. So many incredible ideas that you have dropped on us today. I have several other questions, but I think I changed what I wanted to ask you. I don't know if it's Jesus or if it's just my head, but you you have such an incredible fire and energy and compassion for people. And if anyone is watching this who leads outreach, like that's our fire, that's our fuel, that's who we are. We're the outreach weirdos, and we are bright and colorful, and we can just get fired up over loving people, and it's awesome. But I wanted to ask you, and you kind of touched on this before we started recording, but like, what keeps you going? You have so much energy. Like, I feel like it just seems like you're just so fresh in Jesus's love every single time I talk to you. It's so cool. But what keeps you going from burning out? What keeps your fire lit?
All right. So that's a crazy question, at so many different aspects, because we get tired, right? It is what it is. We will get physically tired. But in that aspect, I have Pastor Brandon who reminds me to take Mondays off. He's always like, Donnell, rest. Bro, he's like, watch Netflix and chill. He goes, do something to re-energize yourself. But the one, to be honest, that one person that I feel like that I impacted. Pastor Brandon challenged me and said, when you lay your head down at night and you play your day, what has to be done in order for you to go to sleep happy? And its effect have a positive effect on one person's life a day, right? And it doesn't have to be like this super over top thing, but if I do that, I remember that I'm walking in the feet of Jesus, because we can say, oh my God, Jesus came for the whole world. Yes, he did, but he said he came for the one. He always referred, the sheep, right, is plural and singular. It's plural and singular. So Jesus is always talking about one, all right? And so if I always remember the one, right, like Quentin, my boy, he's been sober for like 45 days. Man, for anybody who's been addicted to something, he was my one on Sunday that rejuvenated me, was like, man, come on. And I got a phone call this morning that somebody that I've been working with that I met in prison, he had a revelation and it was so impactful. He was my one for today. And I'm like, golly. And so if we remember that we do it for the one, we won't get overwhelmed by the 300 or the 200 or the big events that we have to do or the long nights, because we remember that one person that's going to call us, or that one person that's going to text us, or that one person that's just going to say, hey man, I appreciate what you did. That's like, come on, man. That's God. That's where it's like at, because then guess what? That one is going to go tell somebody, right? And say, hey, I met this guy and he said that Jesus loved me and that he helped me. And guess what? I want to tell you, Jesus loves you and he wants to help you. Then all of a sudden that one is going to the next one and the next one and the next one and the next one. And so one day I'm going to get to heaven, right? And there's going to be a clique of people everywhere. And Jesus is going to be like, hey man, this is your clique, bro. Because you had that one conversation. This is what happened. And so that keeps me like throwed off. Plus just serving, just being like, hey, you know what? I'm hands and feet, baby. I don't know what you talking about, but we out here doing something, right? It keeps me pumped, because this thing is about, we always hear people say, hey, love is an action. Love is an action. Love is something you do. It's not something you feel. We live that life, right? And if I remember that, I always remember it's the love of Christ, man. And he says, hey, man, don't get weary in doing good. I renew your strength on eagle's wings. He say all these things, and I remind myself, and then I get back out there, and I'm like, let's do it. But, or however, I don't like the word but, however, Pastor Brandon tells me, take Mondays off. And I didn't, and I got like really, really tired one Sunday, like tired enough that I didn't go to church. And I knew then that I wasn't like burnt out. I just was I literally sat on my couch and was like all day. And so I knew then that I needed to take that guidance. God has him in my life to pastor me and to lead me and to guide me. And he has some knowledge and wisdom that I don't have, some experience, and resting, right, is one of them. And to make sure, so yeah, to keep that fire, remember that one, but also remember to rest. And that's when I like read my Serve Your City for 946 times. Like I said, I can sit down and just like, okay, I missed that last time. I missed that. And so that's what keeps me going, man.
So good. So good. Everybody needs a pastor who's going to tell you to sit home and watch Netflix on a Sunday. That's great.
No, he told me to watch that on a Monday.
Monday, my bad.
Yeah, you get me in trouble. Look, woo. Yeah, because of Sunday. He said you
on Sunday. He did not want to do that, Pastor Brandon. I love it. I love it. I love it. And oh my gosh, the whole following the one, finding your one, that is like my life song. So you're speaking my language, and everybody else who's watching this, it's absolutely beautiful. In the heart of Jesus, thank you so very much for this interview. I wish we could go on for a whole nother hour because I have like a list of questions and things I want to like tap into deeper. So we're going to have to do a follow-up sequel at some point, but I cannot thank you enough just for taking time to share all this. I know you shared earlier that you have a lot to do today, a lot of people to go love, a lot of ones to go take care of and get clothes for and put in housing and everything else. So everybody who's watching, I know we just really appreciate your wisdom and love you to death. And if people want to get in touch with you, or number one, if they want to pray for you guys, what's something on your heart they can pray for? And then if they want to get in touch with you just to follow the story or ask a question, what's the best way to do that?
All right. Pray for a truck and a facility. We're believing for both of those in either order. I'm not tripping. However God wants to deliver. But pray for those. And if you want to reach me, you can reach me simply at Donnell at elevatepeople.tv. Donnell at elevatepeople.tv. I give you my phone number, but y'all might call me. I'll be pushing. But yeah, that's how you can reach me. I would love to talk any of that, man. So any questions or anything, hit me up.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much again. Thank you everybody for watching today. And we're going to be praying for that truck in that facility. Lord has got it. He's coming. So go have a great week and we will see you next time on the Serve Crew. Bye.